What if the next 90 days of your life could be worth more than the last 10 years? This is not a theory, it is a law. And for a century, it's been the single greatest divider between a life of drifting and a life of command.
For centuries, men have embarked on a desperate pilgrimage, scaling the cold peaks of ambition, wandering through the arid deserts of scholarship, and kneeling at the gilded altars of charlatans. They have sought a single, elusive key, a secret whispered on the winds of time that could unlock the vaults of fortune, influence, unshakable peace, and personal greatness. They have returned with empty hands and weary souls, their lifetimes spent in a fruitless search, only to find themselves at the journey's end still shackled by the very same fears, doubts, and limitations that held them captive at its beginning. The world tells you this key is a myth, buried deep in mystery, reserved for the lucky, the born genius, or the ruthless. This is a lie. I tell you, the key exists. It is not buried. It is not hidden. It has been in plain sight for all of human history, waiting only for the individual with the eyes to see and the ears to hear. It does not require a lifetime of labor to acquire. It demands only 90 days of disciplined, focused application. This key is not a secret, but a system. Not a mystery, but a methodology. It is found in the 16 immutable laws of success. These laws are the master code to the universe itself, the operating principles by which reality yields to the human will. When you grasp them, your life will undergo a fundamental transformation. You will no longer stumble through existence like a blind man in a strange land, groping its shadows and tripping over obstacles. You will walk with the confident stride of one who holds the title deed to life itself. You will command money, not as a desperate seeker, but as a master who understands that wealth is merely an obedient servant to the disciplined mind. You will command opportunity, because you will possess the knowledge that opportunity bows only to the twin forces of definitiveness and relentless persistence. You will command respect, not by demanding it, but by embodying a self-mastery from which respect cannot be withheld. But before I illuminate the radiant path that these laws carve through the wilderness of life, you must first stare into the abyss. You must understand the curse that awaits those who ignore this key. For every law of success has its dark opposite. For every principle neglected, a penalty is inflicted. For every truth resisted, a new link is forged in the chain that binds you to mediocrity. The two roads, a vision of heaven and hell on earth. Close your eyes and picture this reality, a life lived in violation of these laws. You wake in the morning, not to the promise of a new day, but to the dull ache of repetition. The alarm sounds, and your hand strikes it with a familiar irritation, for life has become a gray, monotonous echo of yesterday. There is no burning desire in your heart, no chief aim to ignite your spirit, no definite plan to guide your actions. You stumble through the motions, arriving at a job you despise, taking orders from a man you do not respect. Every hour spent there feels less like work and more like a slow, systematic theft of your soul. Your talents, which were meant for greatness, are wasted on small errands and empty labor, like using a samurai sword to chop firewood. You return home. You look at your children, and though you love them with a fierce, primal love, you see a flicker of disappointment in their eyes. You have given them excuses instead of examples, apologies instead of adventures. You look at your partner, and though they endure, a silent understanding hangs between you. They know you promised them more than this. You promised yourself more than this. Finally, you're forced to look at your own reflection, And in that moment of brutal honesty, you know you have betrayed the person you were meant to be. You have become a living monument to your own compromises. This is not merely a bad life. This is the penalty of drifting. This is the judgment handed down by an impartial universe to every man and woman who refuses to learn the laws that govern achievement. Nature does not excuse ignorance. The law of gravity does not spare the child who steps off a ledge out of innocence. In the same way, the law of success does not pardon the man who fails to obey it. The consequence is as certain and as merciless as mathematics. Now, picture the opposite. Imagine waking before the alarm, drawn from your bed by a burning purpose, so definite and powerful it pulls you upward as fire pulls oxygen. Imagine walking into your work not as a hired hand, but as a builder, a leader, a creator. You move with the unshakable authority of one who knows he is the architect of his own destiny. Imagine your children looking at you, not with pity, but with uncontainable pride, whispering to their friends, "That is my father, that is my mother." Imagine your partner standing taller, their chest swelling with the quiet confidence that comes from being the partner of a man or woman who keeps their promises. Imagine your enemies, those who doubted and ridiculed you, forced to grind their teeth in silent, seething respect, compelled to confess, even through their envy, that you have become untouchable. This is not a fantasy. This is law. The chasm between these two lives, one of quiet, desperate failure and the other of triumphant, resonant success, is not determined by luck, birth, or circumstance. It is determined by a single binary choice: whether or not you master the 16 laws of success. Life places before you two roads. One is broad, crowded, and deceptively easy. It requires nothing but drifting, making excuses, procrastinating, and surrendering to fear. It is the path of least resistance, and it leads inevitably to the wasted life, broken health, shattered hopes, unkept promises, and broken hearts. On this road, you will be mocked by your enemies, ignored by your friends, and pitied by your own family. You will hear the ticking of the clock not as the rhythm of opportunity, but as the sound of your own life draining away into nothingness. The other road is narrow, demanding, and often lonely at the beginning. It requires discipline, faith, relentless persistence, and the courage to stand alone against the current of mediocrity. But it leads to riches of every kind. Not just money that grows faster than you can spend it, but friendships with people of power and character, respect that cannot be bought or faked, and a peace of mind that makes even sleep an act of triumph. On this road, you will be honored by your family, admired by strangers, and envied by those who once ridiculed you. The 16 laws are the compass, the map, and the torch for this narrow road. Without them, no matter how fiercely you wish for success, you will inevitably drift back to the broad, crowded path of the masses. With them, failure becomes a mathematical impossibility. Let us now descend into the pit to understand fully the anatomy of failure so that we may better appreciate the architecture of success. The anatomy of the drifter. Without the knowledge of these laws, a man is like a grand ship launched without a rudder or a compass. He may have immense strength in his engines, he may be stocked with provisions, and he may even catch favorable winds. But because he has no direction, his strength is scattered, his resources are depleted aimlessly, and the winds blow him in circles. He rises each morning with no definite aim, and so he unconsciously becomes a servant to the aims of others, his employers, the politicians, the advertisers, the schemers. His life is reactive, not proactive. When opportunity presents itself, he hesitates. He is paralyzed by doubt. Is this for me? Am I ready? What if I fail? He waits for a sign, for permission, for certainty. And while he waits, another man, one armed with less talent but more confidence and definitiveness, seizes the reward. The drifter looks back later with the bitter clarity of hindsight and whispers the three most tragic words in the English language: "I could have." But by then, the moment has passed, never to return. He becomes a copyist, not a creator. He follows trends instead of setting them. He complains about his circumstances instead of commanding them. His emotions are his master. His appetites devour his energy and resources. He lives for momentary comfort and receives lifelong poverty in return. He fears failure so intensely that his very fear
But it is crucial to distinguish between creative imagination and idle fancy. Many men dream without discipline, and their dreams remain wispy crowds, producing nothing but regret and a sense of unfulfilled potential. Idle fancy is a thief of time. Creative imagination, in contrast, is serious work. It requires focus, persistence, and a definite purpose. It is the deliberate, conscious act of forming clear mental pictures, refining those pictures into step-by-step plans, and then pressing those plans into immediate action. The man who indulges in idle dreams wastes decades. The man who trains his imagination like a muscle saves decades. For the next 90 days, you must practice creative imagination as a daily ritual. Each morning, immediately after speaking your definite chief aim, close your eyes for a few minutes and picture it as already achieved. Do not see it as a vague, distant hope. See the details. See the house you live in, the office you work from, the numbers in your bank account, the respect in people's eyes, the profound feeling of freedom in your heart. Feel the emotions of success, the pride, the joy, the gratitude, until they burn in your chest. This is not escapist fantasy. It is the most practical work you can do. It is training your subconscious to believe in the reality of your aim. And what the subconscious believes to be real, it will command the body and influence circumstances to create. Say aloud, "I create in mind what I demand in life. My imagination is the workshop where riches are built. I picture my aim, and my aim becomes reality." Repeat this declaration until your subconscious accepts it without question. 90 days of such practice will ingrain imagination as a habitual way of thinking, and habit, as we shall see, becomes destiny. Imagination must also be vigorously exercised in solving problems. When obstacles and setbacks appear, as they inevitably will, do not curse them or become discouraged. Instead, ask yourself, what picture can I form of victory here? How can I imagine my way through this? Edison did not see failure in his thousands of failed experiments. He saw new data, new paths eliminated. Lincoln, in the midst of civil war, imagined a united, peaceful nation and used